Hey guys, it's Vince. I'm real excited about releasing a new product. This product has been in the making for about a year or so. It's a new controller. I'm real excited because I think it's going to help a lot of guys, especially the guys that are looking to get into CNC and haven't been able to or make a decision as far as how they want to go or looking at what kind of expandability features are out there for them. A lot of times guys look, whether they be novice or advanced, and are concerned, can I, what's out there in the sense of expandability. Most controllers you buy today are limited. Chassis I know are limited, and I wanted to overcome these barriers, and I think I have. These hurdles now have basically been solved. I would go as far as to say this is the easiest design to manipulate on the market right now. I'll let you guys be the judge, but it's pretty advanced as far as how simple it is for the end user. So without further ado, I'm going to just pan the camera back a little bit, show you the front of the box. You can see you've got everything you see here with the graphics. I do graphic design as well. Just to let you know, of course, you see the Gecko emblem, so you know there are Gecko drives in this system. The system utilizes G251X drivers, which are the same drivers in the Gecko G540 system. The difference is it's not in the chassis of the G540. These are just the separate integrated drivers. So what you're basically looking at, again, typical mushroom e-stop. We've got the typical LED. I chose green this time, power switch. The chassis is a NEMA 1 steel enclosure. And the reason I went with the NEMA 1 this time, it's much more heavy duty. It's definitely will hold up to any environment you put it in. It's super sturdy. You could pretty much sit on this thing and you're good. It's a powder coated unit. These are just really nice enclosures as far as everything goes and as far as durability. So that being said, I'm going to move right along to the top, give you an idea of what we're looking at on top. You can see right away you've got a nice fan filter, and the fan filter that I've designed on this unit is a metal fan filter which encompasses the metal screen mesh. And the reason I like metal screen mesh, there's a couple reasons. First of all, foam, it filters out air at such high volume that your cooling suffers. So I didn't want that, and I also wanted it to be something that I could clean easily. And this filter, one of the best features about it, if you look, it's got 4 screws all the way around it that lets you remove this to clean it without actually going inside the enclosure. So you can clean your intake filter without doing anything but removing 4 Phillips heads, screw it back in, you're good to go. Plus it's a metal grill, so you don't have to worry about it wearing out. The foam, it's crap. And that's just putting it mildly. The next thing I wanted to cover, I'm going to come back here over the side, and I'm going to show you now how we're going to go with everything. There's my fan, and that's my 38 mil 60 by 38 mil, Sanyo. And the reason I always go with the Sanyo, guys, it's a 10,000 RPM, 65 CFM fan. This enclosure's 12 foot square by 6 high, so you're basically looking at this fan clearing out all the air volume inside that chassis, any heat, air volume at all, in a matter of seconds. I wanted something to be efficient. This is by far the most efficient fan in an industrial environment you'll find. Is it overkill? If you want to call it that, I don't know if you'd want to call it that with cooling. Considering the value of the electronics inside, I would say it's done the proper way. Moving right along, you're going to find right on the side is 2 DB9s. Now, I chose DB9s this time, once again. The G540 uses DB9 connectors, as we all know, to hook the motors up. And DB9s work flawlessly with those drives, that the G251s as well. And it's a very simple design. The motor cables, I offered a 300 volt motor cable rating. They're shielded. It's super easy, super plug and play simple. For a novice expert or whatever, you can change the plugs and basically manipulate them any way you want as far as what motors you want to incorporate. One of the big features I like about the DB9 plate, stainless steel of course, guys, just take notes on that, is the fact that the DB9 mounting plate, instead of doing punches for the DB9s, if you get a guy that wants to change these out to GX16 or maybe an Ethernet controller or something else up there, he can change the wall plate to support whatever output he needs. If you punch it, you're kind of locked into whatever port you want to put in there. And that was something I thought about. And it is a very, very simple but super effective design. And that was what I was concerned with. Changing these out, again, you only got 2 screws. Anyone who's familiar in the home of changing a wall plate can change this out in seconds. Super efficient, works perfect, and super durable in stainless with the NEMA 1 chassis. I'm going to move around to the back now. Just give me a minute. I got to adjust my laptop. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so what you're going to find, first thing we'll cover, you got a GX16 3-pin plug for power. Very, very effective. It's aircraft grade connector, so super easy to plug in, locks in. That's your power input. You got your fuse protection, of course, for all your drives inside. You've got your DB25, and you've got your 4-axis points. Again, 4-axis points are already labeled because who knows, whatever you want to use the other 2 for. If you want to go 6-axis, you can label them then for the drives. Over here, you've got your typical 4, which, again, most guys, this is all they're ever going to need. But the expandability purpose, if you need to go more, you've got it, and it's there. Again, coming over here, the power terminal on the GX16, plug and play. Once it's plugged in for power, it even has a locking mechanism. So you basically would break the plug before you break anything else. It's very, very secure and safe. Why did I pick a DB25? Because I know that's a question I get asked a lot. And the main reason I did is because a DB25 breakout board is so cheap and super easy to manipulate the signals from the computer. USB signals, as far as breakout boards, the Ethernet Smooth Stepper, the UC100 adds cost. I love the UC100, but it still adds cost. Not everybody is ready to incorporate those costs yet into a business model or their hobby, so I wanted it to be up to the end user to make the decision, and they can modify it at will whenever they want. It's virtually plug and play. That being said, if you do choose to go with a Smooth Stepper, again, you could switch out the wall plate, put in a plate for the Ethernet port, and you should be set to go. So moving right along, now you see the basic of the back. Very, very simple, and again, super effective. I'm going to just plug it back in because I know I'll forget when we go to try it. And you're good. Now moving up again to the top of the enclosure, one of the features I really, really like, this enclosure on top, again, being it's the NEMA 1 steel, the top is pretty heavy. It comes with the 4 mounting screws. Now with the 4 mounting screws, you're going to notice that the top of the enclosure actually has bored out holes that actually fit the head of the screw, and then they actually slide. And when you slide that over, the screws line up, so you don't need to remove the screws to remove the top of the unit, which I'm going to do right now. Now I'm going to pan around to show you actually what I'm going to do. Just give me a second. Is I'm going to move the box on a different location so I can film it better. So just hold on one second. Okay, so now you're getting pretty much the gist of what we're working with. This system is completely toolless, and virtually anything that needs to be manipulated by the end user is set up with thumb nuts to be manipulated and can be done in seconds. One of the neat, unique features is the drive bracket. If you look at this drive bracket, I'm just going to move up closer. If you look at the drive bracket, you've got the 2 thumb nuts that you just remove, and you can see there's a top bracket. And what's interesting is this top bracket right here lets you mount 3 more drives right over the 3 that are beneath it. It's a modular design, very similar to high-end PC cases. I came up with this design because I felt most guys that want to incorporate more drives in their system, there's nothing out to do it. I mean, overall, what you're finding is that if you go past the 3, go past these 3, you're pretty much at the end. I mean, unless you buy another chassis, or even if you do buy another chassis, you have to figure out where you're going to put them. And I wanted to make it simple. Instead of burying everything, You remove the 2 thumb nuts and you're set. And you can see you've got 2 thumb nuts down here as well, which are holding in the bracket for the 3 drives beneath. Here's your X, Y, and Z. The G250 ones are all set. You can see heat sinks. One of the other features that I wanted to encompass, because I wanted to show you that all details were covered. Of course, everything has resistors. The resistors are installed for the motors because, again, we don't want our motors to excessively heat when the system is at idle. That being said, you can see here I've got plugs in for every terminal. And the main reason I did that, these are in my store as well. The plugs make it this simple. I'm going to show you how fast it is to pull out a DB9, the entire DB9 plug. You just unplug. There it is. You can see it. And if I needed to plug it back in, that's it. That's all there is to it. It becomes more or less like a computer plug. And the reason I wanted to do that was because if you need to change these drives out, if you wanted to modify anything, you can do it in seconds. It's very, very simple. If you're doing screw terminals, to get in here and manipulate those screw terminals can be really tedious and just a PIA. I really look at this now as I wanted something, again, end user friendly. I covered all the bases, and this pretty much, as far as drive manipulation, I can't think of a better solution. Again, to incorporate more drives, all I would do is mount the 3 drives, or however many I want to go past the 3 axis that I have now. Lay the bracket on top. Of course, again, I would definitely mount heat sinks on whatever drives you're going with. Screw down your bracket. And now you're set to go. I mean, you're basically all set. One of the features you're going to see in here too, you can see how thick the motor cables are. And the reason these cables are so thick is I chose to use a heat shrink with military grade shielding inside the heat shrink. This way, all the signals that are coming through to your DB9s are shielded. This heat shrink, I will say, guys, is military spec. It's very expensive. I did it. Is it absolutely necessary? It's not. But I wanted to do it mainly because I wanted to show that every base was covered. And this system, literally, every base is covered. If you look here, and I'm going to pan around so you can see, everything is labeled. And when I say that, I mean it's so easy now. And when I say labeled, it's professionally labeled. All these graphics are professional in the sense that everything you see here, 48 volt, you don't have to forget. Your power terminal is super, super easy in the sense that you've got your ground and then you've got your positive red. If I need to manipulate and get down to my red, and I sell these separately in my store as well, you would undo the thumb nuts, lift off the ground, and get down to the bottom rack where your hot is, and you can manipulate these. Any of this manipulation can be done in seconds, all with thumb nuts. You make them finger tight, you're set to go. There's really no vibration in the case to speak of. You'll never have a loose connection. Super easy to go with. Another feature that I wanted to cover because I think is super, super important is a signal ground for the breakout board. It's segregated, guys. Right here, this goes over to your breakout board, and all your signals now are not mixed. There's no voltage mixing here, so this is an exact ground for this. You're all set to go. You bring them in here, you're set. Another feature is when guys, I've been asked numerous times, you know, there's only 4 ports on these terminal blocks that you design. That's true. The thing is, you can turn the clips over, the round circle clips, the terminal clips, you can flip them upside down to add another one to it. So if you invert these, invert the one that's on there upside down and then put another one on top, you can double these. Most guys don't ever need more than 8 inputs, ever. But if you needed more, I can always extend these and we can go as long as you need. Overall, like I said, here's your COM bar. The COM bar is for the breakout board. Very simple DB25 6-axis. It is opto-isolated. Not absolutely required because the G251s are opto-isolated, but we wanted to make sure your motherboard never had any issues, and that makes the most sense. Next thing you're going to find is that you've got an earth ground. I'm going to see if I can pan in there. There it is. And you can see one of the few that actually has earth ground on the chassis. All these green wires are coming from the shields on the motor terminals where they're going into the DB9s. They actually connect to the earth ground. The reason I did that, you want your signals to be free from noise. That's the proper way to do it, guys. Shielding is supposed to be grounded, and that's going to the earth ground. And you can see that earth ground is not contaminated by any other voltage. There's just an earth ground. So more or less, everything you see here is super, super easy. It looks very complex in the sense of the wiring. Again, you do have 9 wires you're actually soldering on each terminal, so it will be somewhat complex in the sense of hiding wires. You're not going to be able to hide them like that. The big thing is to keep them simple in the sense of, let's say I wanted to unplug my power from this axis. All I would have to do with my plugs that I've listed in my store is just unplug them, and you can see the plug, and then just plug it back in. I mean, if you wanted to remove these drives, super easy, virtually zero downtime as far as manipulating or changing or servicing. Going around the system now, I'm going to point everything out. You do get a 48 volt. This system will ship with a 48 volt, 12.5 amp power supply. Plenty of power for these drives. When I was designing this, I contacted Marcus over at Gecko, and that was one of the okays I got. It would easily power these drives, and it works flawless. I mean, honestly, definitely the best way to go. Over here, you're going to see your 5 volt power supply. There's your power switch. Over here, you've got your e-stop switch, and over here, you've got your cooling fan. Now, one thing I want to point out with the cooling fan, look at the strategic placement with the power supply and the exhaust, cooling fan, exhaust, and then the drives for the exhaust. If you look at this, it should be done in that format. Why? Because, of course, we don't want heat building up in the box. This will basically, that fan will eliminate heat regardless of the size, but overall, this is the most effective way. And one thing you're going to love too is that you don't have to mess anymore with the terminals on the actual power supply, because you only have those 2 power terminals that are going to your toolless ones. So once they're connected, you're set to go. Again, the system is really simple. I mean, you've got your power coming in, you've got your fuse. Your fuse and everything is set. Everything runs over, wire clipped, tied properly. And again, with the labeling and everything that's all done, this is by far, I would say, the easiest format to manipulate, whether you be an expert or a novice. I mean, if you did choose to do the typical screw terminals, it's still super easy. If you buy the drives from me, if you buy the G251Xs from me, I'll give you a discount if you bought the chassis. And why I say that is this chassis will be selling in my store in bare bones format. It'll be in a complete chassis like this. This right now will be listed in a complete turnkey format, and then if for a guy with a different budget, maybe he has a different design in mind, he wants to start fresh, I'm going to offer in a bare bones format with just the power supplies. Come with both power supplies, come with the e-stop, the fan, power switch, of course, all your switches, all your inputs, and your DB9s, and of course all your terminals. So you're looking at, again, this is the complete turnkey fashion, and it'll be offered in a bare bones configuration as well. And like I said, all of these parts, everything you see here, whether it be the terminals, the resistors. Another thing I really wanted to point out, I haven't really said this in any other video, so whoever's watching this, just keep pointing note. If you buy the Gecko from me and you buy the motors, I always include resistors. I didn't put that in my ads, but I always do. A lot of guys charge extra for it. I'm not going to do that. I mean, that's ridiculous. Just keeping it simple, make it hook and plug and play friendly. Overall, I think you get the gist of it. I mean, this system really, really functions excellent. It performs amazing. I mean, you're getting the same G540 quality that everybody's come to love. You're getting the same features with the Gecko drives everybody has come to love and support. It's the best of every world. And then the best of all, if you decide, you know what, I only need 2 axes. I've gotten asked that a couple times. I only need 2 axes. I don't need 3. I don't need 4. This system, the chassis, is the best overall chassis I can think of for you. I mean, it's not going to be cheap in the sense of the initial investment. It's going to be cheap in the sense that if you decide to grow or you decide to make it to where you really want to shrink the actual system down, you can as well. A lot of guys don't think about that. With a chassis configuration like this, you could sell out 2 drives. If I only need 2 and you had 4, you could sell out 2 drives. You could sell another drive. I mean, you could recoup some of the funding that you've put into the system to make it functional. really, I think that's overall one of the coolest features of this is you can expand at end user will. No one's locking you in anymore to say, well, I need to buy this right away, or I need to buy. I mean, you could buy a G540, which the system still has, a tremendous amount of features for the money. Is it for everybody? I don't think it is. I think that with this system and that system, you've basically opened up a new door, and that was what I was looking at doing. You definitely now have a lot more options as far as what you want to, what kind of motion control you want to go with, and really what kind of budget you want to go with. This system, you'll pay more in the beginning, but you're going to save more in the end. The G540, if you're using it all, or you're using, you just want to get into something right away, you've got that too. I will say, as far as features go, though, and I said it to you when I first started the video, this really covers everything you can possibly imagine. I mean, there's really, I can't think of anything else missing. And again, I chose the G251s instead of the G201s or any of the Gecko's larger drives because honestly, unless you're really, really doing heavy machining or much larger systems, these suffice perfectly. They offer the most adaptive use. One of the cool features too with 6-axis, and I can't stress this enough, guys that are using 2-axis for drives, you can't go better than this. I mean, this is easily the best way to go. What if you built a system, you're not sure of it, do you need more drives? This system, you can add another drive, add another, and do it at will. So, I mean, literally, if you think you need more, you've got it. I think that in the end kind of sums everything up. You've seen it. I hope you're as excited about it as I am. I'll give you a quick on test. I'm just going to power it up, show you the LEDs on everything, and you'll get to hear the fan and everything work. You can see on the breakout board the LED. If you go over here, you can see the LED on the power supply, and then your 3 LEDs on the G251s, and you're set to go. And the fan is definitely blowing some air. I mean, I don't know if you can see that. Definitely moving some air. So, like I said, this system really has been a passion of mine. I really wanted to design something that I was excited about. There's nothing like this on the market. And I think a lot of guys will be excited. I hope you are as much as I am. And if you have any questions, you let me know. I can modify this system in a lot of different ways. Again, if you look in the back, and I don't know if I even covered this, but I'll cover it real quick. If you look in the back, everything is hole driven. I actually punched holes. And the reason I went with holes is because holes are much easier to manipulate for your connectors. You're not limited, like we said, the wall plate, the holes, everything lines up, you're perfect. And again, on this side, it's the exact same thing. You've got the 2 DB9s. You can come in there and just manipulate whether you want DB9s or, again, these make great connectors for your home switches. It's really up to the end user. Like I said, the modifications on this box that can be done are amazing. But if you consider the fact that this box is only a 12-inch cube by 6-inch high, it's pretty amazing what fits in this when it's done properly. And that's why it really took me a lot of time. It's so modular in the design, and it just works flawlessly. Once it's set up, it's good. So I hope you like the presentation, and I hope you're interested. And if you have any questions, just let me know. I do this full time, guys. This is what I do. I think it pretty much reflects what I do. I can't stress that enough. I live this stuff. So if you have a question, let me know. I'll do my best, and we'll see what we can get you set up. Thank you.